Hello, Yona. Good to see you.
Hello again. Hello to everyone. Yeah, just
Yeah.
like a pair of like just brief words before Usha has her time to prepare. So yeah, hello, I'm Alona Gadeva. I'm a co-organizer of PyLadies Amsterdam. It's a global nonprofit with aim of being more inclusive and diverse. And we are actually people of actions. We are doers. So every month we are giving workshops. Before Corona, we are doing the offline workshops on 2 levels. Specific to one particular topic. And as soon as Corona started, we moved online. So yeah, and we continue our workshops, and we are pretty happy that we had this awesome opportunity to have this workshop today. And I want to point that actually, if it was not online, we were not be able to invite the speaker today, maybe because she's joining us straight from India. So it's actually a global collaboration right now. So it will be experimental for us as well because we have only 1 hour, even less with Q&A. So it will be more like a combination of talk, code up workshop, and as soon as Usha is ready, then we are happy to be here and answering your questions as well. Thanks a lot.
Fantastic. Thank you. I was just talking to Axel about the Randstad community area thing, and it's funny that you're here now because obviously we know each other from a couple of meetups around. I think there was a Women in Tech meetup that we met first, or
Yeah.
C#. I don't remember.
Yeah, something like this. Like there are a lot of actually happening, and yeah, but that's why as well the reason why, because we have a pretty huge community here. If you just Google, for example, Python, you can find out, I don't know, like at least 20 or 30 meetups happening in Amsterdam and in the rest of the Netherlands as well. But in our case, we decided to do differently, and we decided to go with hands-on workshop. So each workshop you has an access to GitHub. It's open. If we give a workshop now, we're recording them and publishing us on your YouTube channel, so you can always have time and opportunity to get back and watch it and do it in your own pace. And if you have questions, we have our PyLadies Global Slack where everyone can help you. But I think that Usha is here with us right now,
yes,
right?
I think she's ready to go.
Yeah, Usha.
Take it away, you two.
Awesome. Welcome, Usha.
I think she's having some technical issues at the moment. Okay, so while we wait until she gets it figured out. Yes, okay, we can hear you, but very quietly.
1 minute.
All right. How are you getting along? Yes, it's still quiet, pretty quiet.
1 minute, let me reconnect the cat.
That's fine.
And it's also a time difference. So yeah, it's almost.
That's true.
It's almost evening, almost night there. So yeah.
Yeah, she's tired, bro.
Hello?
Yes, we assume.
We heard you very briefly, but very quietly. Okay. So by the way, in the meantime, I think the PyLadies Amsterdam community is so great because I know Jan, who's not a lady, but he loved the community so much that he decided to start a PyAn conference, I think, or a Python conference.
Yeah.
So I just love how inclusive you are, and it's not an event that's just for women, you know?
No. The thing is, actually, maybe it sounds a little bit confusing. The name is PyLadies, although we are welcoming, let's say, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're interested in Python, welcome. And we have different flavors of Python. We have like a hardcore, old, let's say, backends, or something more fancy like MLEI things right now. So you can find anything that you want, actually. And let's say our goal to have definitely 50-50. And we say as when it will be 50-50, we will change our name, you know? So we'll see. But now it's funny to see this, you know, like this balance other way, because in our workshops, it was like in the beginning, 90% female, 10% male. I'm not speaking even of non-binary people. And then you see this, like the people really afraid of, and then they say, oh, now I understand what's happening. So it's cool to see the development, and with each workshop, we see more and more people coming. And as well, we had our online Python bootcamp. It was for 1 month long. It was with 120 people. And it also was really nice to see, let's say, different people from different countries, from different continents even. So it was really cool. And the mentors were from different continents as well. This is actually a power of community. Or, for example, last time as we had a workshop, one of the workshops was about Bokeh. And actually starting with Bokeh, it's interactive visualization library based on the mix of Python and JavaScript. So actually you write a piece of code in Python and a piece of code in JavaScript. So it's really interesting, but it's really cool and interactive. And actually we got a feedback from Bokeh, core development team, and they were actually helping us with a workshop, and they were helping us with Q&A sessions. So once again, this is a power of community. This is what unites people. It doesn't matter where you are, United States, India, the Netherlands. Yeah, you can join. And this is really cool. So now, Usha, is it working now?
So my headphone is working now. So
Awesome.
am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
So let's get started. This is going to be a very interesting session. And I would like to take a little bit, senses before I start the session. How many of you are already familiar with machine learning? And how many of you have never heard of machine learning before? So how many of you have heard of machine learning and data science before, are already familiar? Just put yes in the chat window so I can, fine tune the sessions accordingly. So how many of you are already familiar? If you're familiar, just put yes. So based on the audience level of knowledge, I'll be fine tuning my session today. Sure.
Yeah,
How many am I audible? Like
yes, you're audible, and I see that it's coming like yes, yes, yes. So
okay.
I think we're good to go.
All right. So if a lot of people yes, then this is going to be a very easy session. So this is the hope everyone is already having the notebook for today's session. So today we're going to see a platform called Kaggle. So the entire demonstration is going to be on kaggle.com. There's a reason why I have chose kaggle.com for demonstration. Because I'll be like teaching you a concept, and post that, I'll be pointing you out to a couple of competitions which you can experiment whatever you learned in the session in those competitions. So Kaggle.com is a great community for data scientists. There are 5 million data scientists who are registered users in this platform. And so a lot of people, any company which has got competitions, they can come and host there. So there are a lot of competitions on knowledge. There are a lot of competitions otherwise as well. And you have like a lot of prizes and swags. And so then you have a huge repository of data sets. So you have a lot of public data sets, both researchers and machine learning engineers, and from academia, industry. There are a lot of open source data sets. So if you are from a particular domain, and if you want to quickly search a data set in a particular domain, then you can go and search this. And you also have notebooks. So, for any tutorial, for whatever tutorial you want, whether, for all these competitions out there, you can go out there and, you can, look for notebooks. So, for example, I'll tell you, like, I'm going to a particular competition. So if it could be like answer correctness prediction. This is from a Korean company who's having an education based, a platform. and a startup, and so they want to build a data science solution for this particular education platform. So this is the problem, and they have $100,000 price. And if you go to the data, you have the data set here and under notebook. So you are a total beginner and you want to get a basic idea. Under notebooks, there are a lot of people already who have put several tutorials. So you can use these tutorials as baseline tutorials and then get started. A lot of people, I give a talks across the world, and a lot of people ask me, way to get started, way to get started. I mean, this is a great place to get started. So today we're going to see TensorFlow Hub, which is a great repository for pre-trained models. And the reason why I particularly chose Kaggle platform is, first reason, my GitHub account got locked out, so I have no other platform. And the second reason is, after I go through this session today, I'll be pointing you out to a couple of competition. Whatever knowledge you have learned here, you can, if you want to check whether you've fully understood it, then you can go and try out these competitions. One is Google Landmark Recognition. This is a competition where you can use pre-trained models from TreeFhub and try this competition. And Google Landmark Retrieval, and you've got this global weed detection, where this problem is, you have to, this is the wheat. So here you will have to detect the wheat X. This is the machine learning problem. These competitions, all these competitions which I'm pointing out are already over. But you can use this knowledge, whatever you learned in this workshop, to try these competitions. That's why I've chosen this platform to give the session. And a bit about Kaggle, like how to create a notebook and all. If you're totally new to the platform and if you want to know like how to create a notebook, then I'll quickly teach you how to create it, similar to Colab. So if you, I think everyone would have worked in Colab. So if you want a quick demo, I can teach you like how to create a notebook. So if you go under notebook session, you have an option called new notebook. If you click on new notebook, you will get an environment which is similar to Colab. Similar to Colab, see, you can configure your environment, whether Python or R or notebook or script and whatever it is. This is where you can configure your environment. And so this is a demo notebook which I have created. So this is something, and then, you just like Colab, if you want to print a statement, then you can go print Kaggle and you can run a Colab. It's similar to Colab, the environment is similar. So this saves you a lot of time from installing software, setting up your Anaconda, downloading, installing your Anaconda, Jupyter, and all this. It saves you a lot of time. And so this is about it. And here also you can set your language preferences, and internet, you can switch it on and off. And accelerator is whether you want to choose CPU or GPU or TPU V3A8. I want to give a little heads up. Kaggle has limitations with GPU and TPU. See, GPU, you have only 40 hours and per week, and for TPU, you just only get 30 hours per week. So, if you just run 2 competitions in TPU, that 30 hours will get exhausted. So be very mindful of the GPUs and TPUs which you are using. So this is an environment, which we are working on. This is how you should create a notebook in Kaggle. And if you want to change, if you want to add collaborators, for example, you are 2-3 people are working together in a project, then you can add collaborators here. And you can also set your notebook private or public. So you can make it private and share it only amongst the friends who are collaborating. And this is about how to run your notebooks, set up the environment. It's similar to Colab, so you don't have to download softwares, nothing. So external libraries alone you'll have to install, and you can get started with it. And if you want to add data sets, if you're working on a particular competition, then the data sets, you don't have to download it, upload it. It saves all this hassle. See, this is a great repository of data set. For example, I want to add any data set, I can just search. For example, corruption is the data set I want. I want all the data sets in corruption, I can just type corruption and I'll have a lot of data sets in corruption. And I can just click on add, the data sets gets added. So since this is a great repository for data sets, you don't have to search data sets, then, download it. And then after downloading it, it might be like 30 GB, 40 GB or something. Then uploading is a upheaval process. It saves you a lot of time since this platform itself have data sets. And if you're going and, creating a notebook under a competition, the data sets will automatically come there. So, you don't have to, it will save you a lot of time. So that's why for data scientists, this is a great platform. And especially if you're very much a beginner, and a lot of beginners don't get this guidance. So I can't guarantee you will get guidance and all that. But what I can tell you is there is a forum called Discussion Forum. So where you can go and get post your questions here, whatever questions the question which whatever category, whether it's on question and answers, and you will get answers from there. A lot of Kaggler's like grandmasters, competitions experts, and a lot of masters and a lot of people out there, 5 million people. So there's high probability, some 5 to 10 people will be answering questions. Most of a lot of times I have asked questions which is not related to anything related to Kaggle as well. You can go and ask questions here, getting started. If it's not related to Kaggle also, you can go and ask questions. If you're stuck somewhere in related work, you can do it here as well. So this is a great resource. This is a platform we're going to use today. And so let's get started with, before I start, I would like to thank the PyLadies organizers, both Laina and Bhumika, for giving me this opportunity. And what is TensorFlow Hub? So TensorFlow Hub is an open source open repository for all your pre-trained models. So if you go to this, okay. I'm so sorry. I've been going on and on without sharing the screen.
Yes, it's a really good idea.
Okay. I've been showing demo all along and the screen is not shared. I'm really sorry about this. Maybe I'll do whatever demo I showed, I'll again do it towards the end if we have time. And getting started, this is about TensorFlow Hub. TensorFlow Hub is an open source repository for reusable machine learning. So there are a lot of companies like Google, Facebook, and all these companies. They use powerful machines, powerful TPUs, and all this trained for like 6 months or 3 months. Using all these machines, and they employ the best researchers in the world, and they come up with great architectures, and they finally outsource this architecture to the outsource this entire model for free to the world. And some of the problems which we face, like text classification, image classification, these very common basic tasks, we don't have to sit and train the models from the scratch. Instead, we can use these pre-trained models, which has been outsourced by all these researchers worldwide. We can use it for free of cost. And we can we also don't have to worry about the versioning. Are we using the latest model? Are we using the right version? And do we have, all this metadata is automatically collected for us. So the website is TF in TensorFlow. You will have the documentation related to TensorFlow Hub. So there is under TensorFlow official documentation, you will have, I'm also putting this link in the Discord server. Okay, I'll put this in the chat window as well. So this is the place where, you have the TensorFlow Hub. And this is a separate website maintained for TensorFlow Hub, where you will find all the pre-trained models here. the collections, if you see, these are the pre-trained models. So you will also be able to find who has outsourced this model. So this is outsourced by TensorFlow team, and this model is outsourced by Google. And you'll also be able to find out who has outsourced this model. So you have models for all categories. So you have text, you have problems related to since I have a lot of windows open. It's a little slow. So you have all types of problems. Recently, there are a lot of audio embedded models also being trained. Added, you have problems related to image. You have models related to text. You have models related to video, audio. So for all these problems, the common problems, you already have the pre-trained models. For example, if I want to go to text, I can click on text. And I already have pre-trained models. So if I want to solve a text classification problem or text embedding or text generation or text language, text question answering problem, text retrieval, all this, I don't have to build a machine learning solution from the scratch. I already have a pre-trained model. For example, my objective is to build a text classification model. Then I click on text classification, then I automatically get a set of models which does text classification for me. And I'll also be getting who is the publisher. So I click on a particular model, then I get all these details. So this model is being published on Google by Google, and then this on which date they created. And there's also metadata as well. So you get the metadata, and the everything is automatically maintained by the TF Hub team. So you don't have to worry about are you using the correct model. And also for some of the use cases, for example, I'll go to a text option. Text, not text, image. So image classification, I can just filter out TensorFlow version 2 or version 1. I can go for TensorFlow version 2. Then, I have a lot of examples like this. For example, if it's Inception, any random example, I'm just clicking. See, you have an option where you can copy the URL. So in your code, you can just copy this URL and you can use this. If you just call this URL, this model will be automatically downloaded for you. And or you can manually download it, and you can also, upload it or whatever. And then you will also, some of the pre-trained models will also have a demo Colab notebook on how to use it. And so, for example, the open Colab notebook. So some of the models, not all models, but currently some of the models have a demo notebook as well. So if you go here, open Colab notebook. So if this is efficient det. So efficient det is used for object detection. So object detection on this particular data set, and they have the model format. So on what format you want also you can decide. And you have the, if you just click on the demo model, you will get a sample on how to use this pre-trained model as well. So everything is neatly laid out for you. All the versioning will be maintained in metadata. And so these are some of the features of TensorFlow Hub. So one more feature about TensorFlow Hub is, so if you go here, see, you can choose a model. So if you want to do something on TensorFlow, you want to do machine learning on web, then you can go and download your model in TensorFlow.js, this format. Or if you want to do machine learning for mobile, then you can download it as tf.lite. Or if you want to do it on edge devices, then you can download it in this Corel format. So these are different model formats available. So it's not just for your normal use case. You can also, fine tune it on based on which model format you want. You can go and choose that for it. And these search options and all this has been recently added. And there is, if you want to publish your model, so there is also an option where you can go and publish your model. So if you have written some use case where you want to publish this mod, you want to publish it to a greater community, and you want to know how to do it. There's a set of procedures out there. So you'll have to follow these procedures to outsource your machine learning model. And this is the procedure. I'll just share this link in the chat window. So this is a set of procedures which you need to do if you want to, if you are a researcher and if you have done something in machine learning and you want to outsource it for the greater benefit of the community, then you can go and you can do it. So currently, if you see, if you just click on the home page, you'll be able to see what all problems, what all kind of problems under text we have pre-trained models, and what all under image we have pre-trained models. And for video, there are less pre-trained models, and audio also there's less pre-trained models. And so there are around 1,300 models currently, and majority of them, see, this has been an internal repository for Google for so long, and only few years back this has been outsourced for the public. So majority of the models has been outsourced by within the Alphabet companies like DeepMind, Google, TensorFlow team, Google Brain, and all, Google AI research team, and all that. But there are other researchers and machine learning practitioners. Now they've recently started outsourcing their models as well for the greater benefit of the community. So if you're working on interesting problems and interested in outsourcing it, then this is a great place. So, so this is about how to do it and all. So we'll see a couple of examples. So before we get into object detections, we'll see a couple of examples in text classification. We'll see first a couple of simpler examples, and then we'll go for object detection. So I'm going to use, so this is the link. I'm putting it in the chat window here. So click on this chat window. Hope everyone has understood what is TensorFlow Hub. So if you've not understood what is TensorFlow Hub, if anyone has joined late, then it's just a repository for reusable machine learning. And you can export your models in several formats. You can use the already pre-trained models out there, or if you are a researcher and want to contribute, you can also contribute. There's a format for mobile, there's a format for web, Corel, and all sorts of formats are there. And so you can, one more biggest advantage of TensorFlow Hub, which I did not mention about, is, see, if you're not a machine learning practitioner, if you're just some kind of a domain expert, and if you want to quickly get started with machine learning, you don't want to sit and go through that 3 months, 6 months of learning curve. You just want to quickly prototype few examples and see. And then TF is a great place for you. So you don't have to learn machine learning from scratch. You don't have to know much about machine learning. It's just few lines of code. Anybody can, even somebody without any knowledge of machine learning, can achieve several tasks. All these tasks mentioned here, you can achieve all these tasks. See, most of the real world industry use cases, if you break down into smaller problems, at least you will be able to solve 30 to 40% of your problems, or making a quick prototypes using it. It will fall under one of these categories. So it is a great place for people who don't know machine learning and not interested in learning machine learning, but you just quickly want to prototype few examples. Then TensorFlow Hub is a great place. So now, whatever I said, now I'll just show it to you why it is a very, very, you don't have to know much about, machine learning and all to, execute programs in TensorFlow Hub. I'll just share this Colab notebook in the comment section. This is a notebook which we are going to see now. This is a style transfer notebook. I told you you don't have to know much about machine learning. So this you will get to know how easy it is to accomplish this task in 2 lines of code. So this is a image of a dog. The style transfer, what is the objective is? Hope everyone is able to access Colab notebook. Hope everyone is able to access it. Do let me know if you face any problem. So the objective of the problem is this is a dog image and this is a style of a portrait. So the objective of the problem here is I have to, this, artist style has to be embedded into this image. So this is the first image, and after embedding you will get something like this. So this is the objective of this problem. So all I have to do is TensorFlow Hub is again similar to Colab Notebook. You can have code cells to add code cells, text to add some comment and some description. And for running you just can click the play button. So Colab is also similar to Kaggle. So I'll start executing this program. I can click on run all. So you don't have, there's no dependency on external. You can click on, go to runtime, click on run all. While it runs, I'll just start explaining what's happening here. So what's happening here is I'm importing the basic libraries which is required here, which is TensorFlow is required. So I'm importing TensorFlow, and the alias for TensorFlow is TF. And there's some visualization libraries and all. I'll skip explaining these libraries because it's not in the context of what we want to do right now. So I'll just, if you are interested in exploring visualization, you can do it later as well. And there's a utility function to convert, a tensor to image. And here you have 2 images. One is this image, what style you want to transfer. So that you can give it here in this URL. And what is the content image, on which image you want to transfer the style, then that you can give it in this first link. So the content image is that dog image, whatever image, where you want the style to get transferred. And the style image is the actual style of the author. So I'm just randomly picking some random author style and random image. You can even try with different image, or maybe you can give your own image photograph and try it as well. So these are from an external URL storage, Google storage. I'm just downloading it. That's what is happening here. And visualization, I'll just skip it. These are utility functions to do it. So content image is my dog image and style image is the image of the author. And so this is the main part. So far, downloading the libraries, getting the content image from an external location, getting the style image from an external location, bunch of utility functions to do various things, converting tensor to image, then visualizing and all that. But the main part, the actual part, which is very important, is only these lines. See, my job is to do the style transfer. I can accomplish that in just 4 lines of code. So not even 4 lines. See, the importing library and all we shouldn't take into consideration. So if you don't take that into consideration, then 3 lines of code, I can get my job done. See, I'm to get the model, whatever from the URL, I told you like there will be a URL. From the URL, you have to go hub.load is a function. And whatever pre-trained model, every pre-trained model will have a URL. That URL you give it here. That's it. And create an object. This object, takes 2 parameters. One is the content image and the style image, where the from whose style has to be transferred. Then use this utility function tensor to image and print out the style. The job is done. So with very few lines of, to understand this, a person doesn't have to understand machine learning. So there are a lot of domain experts here. As far as I've seen in India, there are a lot of people who are researchers who are doing social science research, environmental researchers, ecology, and all that they study. They're least interested to get into deep learning, study deeper. They don't have the time and bandwidth as well. but they get a lot of ideas. They want to quickly prototype a lot of things and stuff. Then this is a great place for them. Just 3 lines of code. Anybody with basic Python, even person doesn't know Python also, I think, any programming language, they'd be able to pick it up very, very fast. So this is about style transfer. You can experiment a lot with this notebook, like, you can experiment with different styles, and as well you can go through the rest of the notebook as well whenever you find time. But this is about the style transfer. Let's also look, before we go to object detection, let's also look at so this is where the URL comes. So the URL which I was telling you, like hub.load, whatever URL comes here. So every pre-trained model will have a URL, or either you can use hub.load and use this URL, or you can download it and then upload it. Whatever works for you, you can do it. And they also have an example use here, like hub.load the URL and how to use it and all that. So every pre-trained model for every under each category will have all this. You will have an option, once you take a pre-trained model, if when you are downloading, which format you want to export it, the pre-trained model, whether you want to export it in which model. And there are TensorFlow version 1 model. There are a lot of models which are TensorFlow version 1. And so, you also have versions, like whether you want to filter it based on which version. And right now there are new features which has come up, this architecture and all that, like you can filter out which architecture you want, and all these are all new features. And publisher, whether which publisher, DeepMind or TensorFlow and all that, you can do. And language, data set, which data set. So the search options is, these are options. I just took the same session, I think 1 month back, for a community in Delhi. I think that time all these features were not there. These features, I think, were recently released. Architecture, publisher, data set, filtering out based on these options. And this is a simple example we saw for style transfer. So let's also see another example under text. So I'll show you another examples, which is for text classification. So I'm pasting this Colab notebook link here. Please open that notebook. So this is text classification using TensorFlow Hub. See, a lot of people will have different requirements for text classification. You may be a call center, running a call center where you want to examine the logs of the call center, you want to examine the huge number of customer complaints which is coming up. Every second there's a lot of customer complaints getting generated. You have no time, or you don't have any resource to sit and analyze this customer complaints for you. And so you in these places, text classification apps or applications can help you out. Or the most common use case is text classification for movie reviews, or you want to do some Twitter sentiment analysis or social media sentiment analysis. A lot of use cases for text classification. And so this is again a basic problem where how you can solve this text classification problem using TensorFlow Hub. So in this model, they're using something called transfer learning. So transfer learning is a concept where you don't have to transfer learning. I'm not getting into the intricacies of transfer learning. I'll keep it short, because transfer learning itself can be taught in a 1 hour, 2 hour session, elaborately. But this session, since the focus is on TensorFlow Hub, I'll just keep the explanation for transfer learning in a very, very short manner. See, when we saw that style transfer example, we just used the style. We downloaded, upload from the hub.load. We gave that URL as a parameter, and we just used the pre-trained model as is. We did not do any modifications. But here, in this particular example, they are using some concept called transfer learning. For somebody who's not familiar with machine learning, then transfer learning is a concept where you don't have to train your model from the scratch. So an already pre-trained model, for example, ResNet, for image classification, there are a lot of models like ResNet, EfficientNet, and all these models. This EfficientNet is released by Google. And so you don't have to train a model from the scratch. I can use an EfficientNet model. For example, recently for DevFest, I gave an example. DevFest, this is identifying, I'm just sharing, this is an example which I took session last Sunday. The video is also available online. If you want to see if you're interested in learning further, this is an image classification problem. I'll share the video link also, like if you're interested and want to, later on check these videos out. Sorry. So day 3, there are all sessions, Flutter and all that is there. So my session will be the first session. So first 1 hour will be my session. So if you are interested, you can, that melanoma classification problem, you can just go and you can watch this video if you're interested. Then, so this particular use case uses transfer learning. So I'm not using any thing from the scratch. Instead, I am, using the weights and all the parameters of this EfficientNet model. I've shared the link to this notebook here. So EfficientNet is a model released from Google AI. So if you're already familiar with convolutional neural networks, see, this uses a special kind of scaling. This uses some special technique when compared to the convolutional neural networks. I'll keep the definition of very simple because this is little digressing out of the context. So I'll not get deeper into it. My main intention is to show you what is transfer learning. So this problem, the objective of this problem, if you go, the main intention here is, see, this is a melanoma classification problem. So if you see, my job is, this is an image with melanoma, this is an image without melanoma. So I have to classify whether the image contains melanoma or does not contain melanoma. This is the problem statement. So to write this problem, to solve this problem, if I have to solve already, like Kaggle gives only 30 hours, I'm solving this problem using TPU. TPU is a very costly resource. And if I'm not using, Kaggle gives me only 30 hours of TPU, and the Colab gives me unlimited TPUs. But if you see, the memory and all is 13 GB RAM only, but the data set is huge here. So there is always a restriction on the compute resource. So if I have to, go for an external cloud provider or, a pre-configured GPUs, or if I'm not having GPUs in my system, not everyone can afford GPUs and TPUs of their own at their home. TPUs is not outsourced yet. You can only get it in cloud. But for GPUs, I think not everyone can afford NVIDIA GPU and all. So if for people who cannot afford NVIDIA GPU and all, this transfer learning is a great, technique. Because what I'm actually doing here is, this Google has released open source this EfficientNet architecture in 2019. In their Dev Summit, they released this architecture and they also made a blog post about it. So what I'm doing it, I'm reusing that architecture. So all the weights and parameters and all of it will be the same. And in addition to this, I'm just adding few more layers. I'm adding few more layers above the same. I'm using their same architecture. In addition to that, I'm adding some extra few more layers. I'm just fine tuning it. So see, they would have tested out this model on different, data sets and all. To solve my problem is solving melanoma, classifying melanoma. To solve my problem, I'm fine tuning that model which is released by Google by adding extra few layers to solve my problem. So this process is called transfer learning, where I reuse some of the pre-trained models. In addition to it, I fine tune few layers or add few layers, or freeze most of the layers and add extra layers and all to solve my problem. This problem is called this whole process of doing this is called transfer learning. So in this text classification problem, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a transfer learning here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pre-trained model. I'm not going to use the pre-trained model as is what I did in the style transfer, but I'm going to add extra few layers to solve the problem. That's a difference. And this problem also you can start running it. So go to runtime, click run all. See, this is what is you'll have here. You're installing this TensorFlow Hub, TFDS nightly, and all that. So here, all the packages which is required for this session, you will be downloading it. And here, the data set. So the data set is I'm using a data set which is a preloaded data set in. It's a preloaded data set in TensorFlow. So if you see this TensorFlow. So I hope everyone is having this TensorFlow website with you, official documentation. I'll share this in the link, which is the official documentation for TensorFlow. Here, if you go, you will have something, you have pre-trained data as well. So there are a lot of pre-trained data sets. So TensorFlow datasets, if you go to I'll share this link of TensorFlow datasets here. So where is this? TensorFlow datasets here, I have a lot of pre-trained datasets. So I have a catalog of datasets. So IMDb is one of the preloaded datasets. So under for every problem, you have some preloaded datasets. So if you're a beginner and you don't want to search, quickly learn a concept, and you don't want to sit and do all these things, there are a lot for every category. There are a lot of preloaded datasets. So with just one line of code, it's already in a format where you can feed into TensorFlow pipeline, so you don't have to do all this pre-processing, right? So many utility functions to pre-process it in a way that you can feed it into the TensorFlow pipelines. It will save you all that headache, especially if you're a beginner. Then this is going to be a huge headache for you to learn all of it at once. So for a beginner, I think it's highly recommended. Go to TensorFlow datasets, start experimenting with TensorFlow datasets, and then later on you can experiment with your own use case. So I'm for this example text classification, I'm actually using TensorFlow data sets, which is from IMDb reviews. So under text you have something called IMDb reviews. Where's IM so you will have something called IMDb reviews. See here, it's IMDb reviews is there. So if you go here, you'll find for this data set what all the methods available and all that you can find. So this is an advantage of pre-trained using pre-trained data sets. Here I'm using a pre-trained data set for this text classification problem, which is IMD. So all I have to do is the advantage of using pre-trained data sets, tfds.load. This is nothing but TensorFlow data sets alias dot load methods. I'm giving the data set name. Then there is a process where you will be splitting your data set into training data set, test data sets, all that. I can just configure it as parameters. I don't have to call scikit-learn library to configure that and all. I'm just giving it as parameters and that gets the job done. So this is some of the advantages of using a pre-trained data set. And now here I'm building my model. So this, I told you, this is transfer learning. So I'm just giving the URL of the pre-trained model which I want to use. Then I'm just storing it under this object hub layer where it contains this pre-trained embedding. And here I'm building my model. So in my model, what I'm doing is I'm using tf.keras.sequential layer. Sequential, it means you will pack a sequence of different layers together. So the first layer is going to be my pre-trained model. So here, if you just go above here, my pre-trained embedding, I have just downloaded it from I'm just using the pre-trained embedding of TF Hub here. So my first layer in my model, this four lines of code is your modeling part. My first layer, and out of this, I'm using a sequential layer to stack more different layers together. So these three layers is where I'm stacking different layers. So the first layer is my tensor pre-trained embedding layer, which I got it from TF TF Hub. And then I'm adding two layers. Here, this is a text classification problem. So I'm having about, it has a model has to classify whether it's a positive sentiment or a negative sentiment. So it's a classification problem. So I'm just, fine tuning this model to suit my use case. That's all. So this is just 3 lines of code. I can get it solved. So this is solving a problem using transfer learning, not just using the model, pre-trained model as is, but downloading the pre-trained model, adding few more layers, fine-tuning your it, and then solving your business use case. This process is called transfer learning. So first use case, we saw how to solve a problem by just using a pre-trained model off the shelf. And here, this problem, we are solving a problem for use case by using transfer learning. And you can just click on. So so this model is having some, see, this is a toy model with just 3 layers. So dummy model, this model itself is giving a good accuracy of 85 and all that. So this is about the second use case. So somebody who is even who doesn't know anything in machine learning can easily do it. This is very, very simple, too simple that it's a great thing for people who don't know machine learning. So this is text classification. Coming back to the problem, actual problem statement for today's workshop, which is object detection. So after I teach object detection, I'll also point you to whatever in the beginning I pointed out to 3 competitions in Kaggle. I'll be giving the use case of those 3 competitions again. So if you really want to test yourself that whether you understood this use case, whatever is being taught here, or if you want to experiment with few more data sets, then those 3 competitions will help you. So let's get started with the final demo of today, which is going to be the object detection problem. The link is in the comment section. Please check that out. And so similar to that, you can go and click on runtime, run all. So this particular use case might take little time, object detection. So we are not just doing object detection using a single architecture. We are doing detection using multiple architectures. Using just drop down, we can change, which architecture I want to experiment with, which data sets I want to try. So it has to go and clone that particular repositories, and also it might take few minutes. So if you have just click on runtime and run all, then I think everything should run without errors. So this cloning thing might take you a few minutes to get up and running because it is cloning a whole set of architects. There are several architectures we are going to see for this object detection now. Not just, see, you can do object detection using efficient, and there's several architectures, YOLO, V3, there's several architectures to do object detection. So we're going to experiment with all those architectures. So it might take little time. So these are the architectures, you have a SSD mobile net, efficient net is from Google, Then somebody has given the CenterNet research, ResNet 50. You have multiple architecture. You have like what fast RCNN. You have like so many variations of ResNet is there. So some around like 20-30 models you can experiment with this particular notebook. You can experiment around 20-30 notebooks. Now my notebook has completed running. So let me show you experimentation with the various models right now. So now I'm going to choose my model. Something center hourglass is coming. I don't like that model. So I'm going to choose this efficient det. And then image of beach is coming. If I go down, beach, dogs, beetles, birds. Okay, I like birds. So I'm going to go to the birds. And so I'll have to run this again. Model selection. So model selection is efficient net. So I am choosing the model which I want to. And then I'll have to load that particular model from the TensorFlow hub. So now I'll have to load efficient det from the TensorFlow hub. So whatever in the scroll in the in the scroll bar you had something like 20 to 30 models. So you can choose efficient det is something which has come out recently in the last year, and you can just experiment with the other models as well. ResNet is also equally good. So I've now this is the model which I wanted, and I have chosen that model. But you can experiment with any model which you like, or you want to experiment with all models. That's also fine. After you choose a model, execute this piece of code again, because you want to load the model which has been selected currently. And for images, you can experiment with multiple images. I'm giving birds. Whether you want to flip the image horizontally, convert it to a grayscale, these are options available. Choosing whatever options you want, click on run. Executing there's a play button which is used for executing a particular code cell. Since everyone said they are already familiar with machine learning, I think most of you would have dealt with Jupyter notebooks and all that. So this is my image. I want to do object detection on this particular image. So this is the image which I have chosen. Now let's go do object detection. This is where you do the inference. This piece of code is doing the inference. So in this particular thing, I'm just downloading the pre-trained model, and I'm not doing much with that pre-trained model. I'm just like using the pre-trained model as such. I'm not doing any transfer learning and all here. So now let's see the output. We have clicked the this part is what is doing the inference. Now see, you have got image detection. It is detecting the birds. It's detecting the birds. So, and it's also giving you what kind of birds it is: pied flycatcher, spotted flycatcher, swift, and all that it's giving you. So now I experimented with birds. I can also go back and try the other images like beach. Click on beach. So this is a beach image, and now I'll do the inference on this beach. This is a model which I took just from TF-Hub. Did not edit any single line of code. I just took the model which is out there on TF-Hub, and I'm just solving my problem. My problem was to detect objects in a particular image. This is my problem statement. With I just did it with just clicking a button. I just finished my problem. So for somebody who's not a machine learning researcher and who doesn't have the bandwidth and time to sit and learn machine learning, but just want to quickly prototype, there could be an environmentalist. They're clicking a lot of photos in the environment. They want to do a object analysis. The recently a lot of people have done this COVID analysis. You give a video as an input, and the output should be in every minute of the video. You should have you should be checking whether every person in the video is maintaining the social distancing or not. So all these things you can just do it using TF-Hub. And there are a lot of people who are doing the small projects these days, like mass detection in a video, mass detection in images, and all this with just one line of code you can just accomplish using TF-Hub. So there's not much of a coding involved, and the learning curve is zero. And so anybody with the basic knowledge of programming should be able to sail through this, accomplish a lot of tasks. So we've come to the end of the session, and what I would also like, the reason why I taught you this thing in Kaggle is, now you learn Kaggle did this problem, like I showed you EfficientNet and all that. So why don't you all try this out? You can go, and these are 3 competitions which I would recommend, where you can go and apply your knowledge. So there's compete. So I'll share the links to the competitions, which I would highly recommend, where you can go and try it out. So one is this Google Landmark Retrieval, and the other is open source object detection, global weed detection. So these are 3 problems which I'll recommend. Whatever knowledge you learned out of the session, if you want to check if you have learned it properly or not, go to these 3 competitions and experiment with it. So since it's part of Kaggle, you don't have to download the data set, upload the data set and all that. You're only doing inference using the TFHub. You're not going to write any, do any training and all. So for doing inference, you can do it with CPU itself. You don't have to require TPUs or GPUs. You can just use CPUs for inference. And so these are the competitions which I would recommend practicing whatever knowledge you learned in this workshop. And that's it. We are good to go. And this is the end of the session, and do practice the session. I once again thank PyLadies, Amsterdam team, Lina, and Bhumika for giving me this great opportunity to present in this Code Motion conference. Thank you all. We'll head out to the Discord where we can take questions. If there's anything else required from my side, please do put it in the comment section so I can handle that.
No, Usha, that was great. Thank you so much.